And when physicists are saying there must be trillions of universes, or there might be septillions, or we can't even pronounce the number, it seems that they're merely punting to explain the complexity that we can see. They're proposing infinitely greater complexity. And so to explain one living cell on Earth, they posit alien civilizations, space travel, quadrillions of cells to explain one cell on Earth. Could you agree, Lawrence Krauss, that when they say that, they're merely punting?
Well, I don't know. Again, when it's like you're asking, when did you stop beating your wife? I don't concede that people are saying that. I've never heard people say that.
You have never heard.
Well, I've heard people
How about panspermia?
Hold on. At my institute that I run here at the university, the Origins Project, one of the things we look at is the origin of life. And what people are looking at is specific chemical reactions that could lead to the development of organic molecules. And I don't hear anyone talking about aliens or I mean, there's this idea of panspermia that is an interesting possibility, namely that the first organic molecules didn't evolve on Earth. But
how about Richard Dawkins? I transcribed Richard Dawkins.
Richard Dawkins all the time, and he's never said that with me.
I watched this 15 times on video, and I published the transcription on our RealScienceFriday.com website. Dawkins said that the origin of life, quote, might have come about in this way. The evidence may show, as we look at the complexity, as we look at the genetic mechanisms, that might be evidence that a long time ago, far, far away in another galaxy, that there was a civilization that evolved by Darwinian means, and that civilization designed life and seeded it on our Earth. Lawrence, he actually said a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, like he's watching
Well, he's
Star
not an
Wars.
expert in astronomy. He's probably more likely by a star in our
Yeah,
galaxy.
right.
But anyway.
So he said that along with, by my extrapolation of the atheist and evolutionist I debate, thousands have posited that life might have come here from aliens, including the co-discoverer of DNA, Francis Crick. I can't believe you've never heard of this theory.
Panspermia. It's a fascinating idea.
Yeah, but do you agree with me that they're only punting because if biological life is so complex that it couldn't evolve here on such a hospitable planet, then why would it evolve somewhere else? You got the same problems there as here. Don't you agree they're just punting?
Well, first of all, the argument, there's no one I know who says that there's any evidence that life is too complicated to have evolved here.
Thousands have posited that life might have come here from aliens, including the co-discoverer of DNA, Francis Crick. I can't believe you've never heard of this theory.
Panspermia. It's a fascinating idea.
Yeah, but do you agree with me that they're only punting because if biological life is so complex that it couldn't evolve here on such a hospitable planet, then why would it evolve somewhere else? You got the same problems there as here. Don't you agree they're just punting?
Well, first of all, the argument, there's no one I know who says that there's any evidence that life is too complicated to have evolved here. But one of the arguments for why it might have evolved elsewhere is our sun and Earth are relatively young. Earth is 4.55 billion years old. The galaxy is 12 billion years old. There are many stars and solar systems that are far older than our solar system. That an additional 7 billion years of potential evolution. So,
could I offer right now to donate $1,000 to a charity of your choice if you could show me a published peer-reviewed paper that actually has scientific observations and calculations within 100 million years that comes close to your 4.55 billion years old?
Oh, we can do it. There's tons of them.
That you agree with the science on. I'll donate. Just so email me, Lawrence. Lawrence, just email me.
The parameters only agree if it's 4.55 billion years old. We can measure the abundance of various elements. And I mean, every single bit of data tells the same thing. You're not a young earther, are you?
Yes, I am.
Oh, well, then,
Lawrence,
you shouldn't get in your car and fly a plane or use your toaster, because the same laws of physics and chemistry that say how they work tell us that they, I mean,
that's a non sequitur. To go from applied science to origins, you do this in your book a lot. You say, because we are starting to figure out quantum mechanics.
We figured out quantum mechanics.
No, we haven't figured out. You sound like Eugenie Scott.
Quantum mechanics, we understand basic quantum mechanics. We understand how it works. We have the equations.
There's fundamental
for the telephone we're using right now.
There are fundamental mysteries about the nature of matter,
that's why
energy,
I study science, because I want to explore those mysteries.
in life itself. So for you to say we really have figured out you don't need God to originate all those things.
Well, I'm just saying that we understand.
You're overselling.
Like you don't need God to make an airplane fly.
Lawrence,
we figured out how it happens.
That's applied science. Then to go to origins, you're overselling your case. Mm-hmm. Just like you do in your book, you say all evidence now overwhelmingly supports the Big Bang.
Well, overwhelmingly is an understatement. All evidence supports that the Earth is round. All evidence supports that there was a Big Bang. All evidence supports evolution.
Lawrence,
all of these things are scientific
I asked
facts.
you earlier to help me. Now, would there be many advanced degreed scientists at leading universities who would agree with me and disagree with you?
No.
How about the 400 scientists who signed over at cosmologystatement.org saying that the Big Bang model, and you know what they signed, right? And I've got it in front of me.
I once with Eugenie made a T-shirt with 500 scientists named Steve.
I know that's funny.
400 scientists to say the Earth is flat.
They have This is from Max Planck.
That's all it means.
Lawrence, this is from Max Planck Institute, Cornell University, George Mason.
What department?
Lawrence Livermore, Los Alamos National Labs.
Scientists don't argue on credentials. There are no such thing.
Right.
Unlike religion, there are no
How about
such
this?
things as scientific
NASA.
authorities.
How about this?
Scientists can be wrong.
How about this? NASA Kennedy Space Center.
Well,
400.
NASA's Kennedy Space Center
Lawrence,
are also wrong. I've talked to them.
Let me tell you what they point out.
And by the way, there are approximately 40,000 physicists alone in this country. So you're telling me you get 400 nuts in 40,000 people? That's not too unusual.
The way that they're mocked, like by Richard Dawkins, saying the human eye would have been designed by an idiot, and you'd have to be an idiot.
Certainly, if it had been designed, it wouldn't have been designed the way we would have.
That's completely false.
Your evacuation system wouldn't have been designed the way it is, or the way you breathe wouldn't have been designed
Lawrence,
the way it is.
in 2 weeks, I'm interviewing a professor at University of California of ophthalmology, Gary Aguilar. The human eye, the nerve comes out for us in the front and for an octopus in the back. And the reason, according to anatomists who published on this for 20 years now, Richard Dawkins is 20 years behind, is because an octopus doesn't look up at the sky and see the sun. So a bright light, a bright flash like a camera flash, is not going to kill 1 million cells in an instant. And in a human being, we live on the surface. We might glance up toward the sun, just like you go blind for a moment when somebody takes your picture. The blood cells, let me just finish it.
If you set up your TV,
let me just finish the point.
You put the cables behind
Lawrence,
the TV.
let me just finish the point. The nerve comes out of the front of the retina because we need the blood vessels available to quickly regenerate our eyesight. So within 1 to 2 seconds, you could see after somebody takes your picture, and it's called an optimal design by leading anatomists. Optimal.
Look. Let's go back to the one thing you said that is absolutely ridiculous beyond belief. I mean, you've said a number of things.
Well, was that ridiculous beyond belief, what I just explained about the eye?
The details of it are, look, you could still design it so you didn't have to put a hole in it.
No, that's not true. There are trade-offs. If you don't want to listen to
me, then we shouldn't talk.
Go ahead.
Can I say a word?
Sure. Thanks.
Okay. When you hook up your TV, you may have your DVD in front of the TV and you have a lot of cables. Rarely will you drill a hole through the TV to put the cables through. What you'll probably do is wrap the cables around the TV so they don't block the TV. Well, in your eye, there's a hole drilled in, and you could call that optimal. You could call it not optimal. The point is, it's there, and I doubt you would do that to your TV.
But
look, those are the
I can explain why that's incorrect.
You're arguing for specifics. Let's stand back to go to generalities. How can anyone in the 21st century think the world is 6,000 years old and still consider themselves not a Neanderthal?
All right,
I'll
tell you.
By that.
All right.
In every single bit of data, we have evidence.
The Neanderthal
evidence of civilizations
Lawrence,
that are older than 10,000 years
Lawrence,
old.
the Neanderthal DNA has been sequenced.
Yeah, I know.
It's closer to you than a chimp is to a chimp within the same species of chimps. So the creationists who've been saying for decades that Neanderthals were people have been confirmed. DNA doesn't lie.
What do you mean people?
People. Human beings.
I mean, our DNA is within 97% the same as an amoeba. I don't understand
that's
what
not,
your concern is.
Well, that's not true at all, but a sponge.
I ran a meeting on early modern humans, and we're learning a tremendous amount about Neanderthals, who, by the way,
Sure we are.
went extinct about 40,000 years ago. And it's very difficult to go to extinct about 40,000 years ago.
Lawrence,
in the universe that's 6,000 years old.
You know that there's carbon-14 everywhere it shouldn't be, right? Everywhere in diamonds and dinosaur fossils and coal and oil and gas.
Why?
And dinosaur soft
tissue.
tissue.
This is really amazing because, every single thing we teach high school students about the universe contradicts the possibility that the Earth is 6,000 years old, beyond the fact that we have direct relics of cave art that's 30,000 years old. We have evidence of civilizations that are 10,000 years old, and moreover, we have genetic and fossil evidence going back. And everything
we have blood vessels.
4.5 billion years old.
We have blood vessels.
4 billion years old. We have many fossils that are almost 1 billion years old, and we have a tremendous amount of evidence of exactly how life evolved on Earth. And why must people reject all the knowledge we have because they insist that there's
because of dinosaur blood vessels.
Why don't you open your mind to the evidence of reality and say, look, if there is a God, the God, as Galileo once said, if there is a God, he gave us a brain. We shouldn't throw the brain out.
Dinosaurs, papers are running 10-1 against the claim that the soft tissue in dinosaur fossils are bacterial biofilm contamination. 10-1. I'm talking about Nature, Science, Paleontology.
Again, you've got a God of the Gaps thing.
No God of the Gaps.
We learn our ideas evolve.
Blood vessels, Lawrence, blood vessels don't hang around for 65 million years in sandstone in Montana. Harvard has sequenced proteins.
I've been with Jack Horner in Montana and seen the fossil blood vessels. Yeah. And in fact, it's perfectly consistent with things that are 65 million years old.
Oh,
Jack Horner, who was the person who discovered
How about the carbon-14? How about the carbon-14, Lawrence? There's carbon-14 in the mosasaur fossil that has soft tissue. Harvard has sequenced proteins from a hadrosaur. Carbon-14 can't last 1 million years, yet it is everywhere.
Could it be contaminated? I mean, when you talk about anomalies, you're like the people who
anomalies.
talk about UFOs, and they say, there was a UFO sighting in this.
I agree with you.
You can't tell me it didn't happen. Well, you're absolutely right. There are anomalies.
I agree with you, but these anomalies are everywhere.
Ridiculous anomalies when there's a whole basis of knowledge which tens of thousands of scientists have worked their whole life on, not because they're evolutionists or atheists, but because they want to understand nature and make the world a better place. And then people like you come along and say, I want to deny all that knowledge because I've decided in advance of reading anything, based on some book that was written God knows how long ago, that the Earth is 6,000 years old, and no matter what you tell me, I'm going to find an argument not to believe that. That's closed-mindedness. That's not open-mindedness.
The anomalies are everywhere worldwide. There's carbon-14, diamonds.
Look, don't talk to me about anomalies. Talk to me about the evidence of
carbon-14 decays with a half-life of 5,700 years.
Right.
This is hard evidence. It can't be neutron capture. The USGS shows how rare radioactivity is in the crust of the Earth.
Hold on. Wait a minute, how rare radioactivity is in the crust of the Earth. In fact, there's as much heat coming from the Earth due to radioactivity as, in fact, all of the Earth's radiant heat coming from the sun.
And what percentage?
There's a tremendous amount of radioactivity inside the Earth. So I don't know. In fact, it's one of the fields I study. So again, once again,
all right. No, on this, I think I know very much what I'm talking about. 90% of the Earth's radioactivity is in the crustal rock of the continents.
That's a true statement.
Right? And so if the chemical elements were created in stars and supernovas, then all this uranium and thorium and all, it should be evenly spread out through the core of the Earth, the mantle, the oceans.
It surprised me tremendously because when as a physicist, I first thought, the uranium and thorium, which is heavy elements, should be, in fact, in the Earth's core, not in the crust.
Well, I said it should be evenly distributed.
They're large ions, and they float to the surface in a molten Earth.
Okay,
learn your chemistry.
Lawrence, I believe you. But wait a minute. They should be on the floor of the ocean. They are volcanoes.
No, they shouldn't be on the floor of the ocean because their abundance depends upon exactly whether they're in granite or there's a great deal of potassium, radioactive potassium, K40, underneath the ocean. But in fact, the uranium and thorium is in fact preferentially by chemistry and geology inside granite. And that's just a differentiation.
Okay, now wait a minute.
And people spend their lives trying to understand that. They don't say, you know what? I want to find something. I know in my heart of hearts for no reason except some inner voice in my mind told me the Earth is 6,000 years old. I know that's the case now. They open their mind and they say, let me try and figure out how the Earth evolved, and work it out. And they do, and they work very hard. And I get particularly offended when people come up and try and say, you know what, all of that knowledge for the last few hundred years, I'm going to throw out because I know the answer.
So when NASA last year looked at the isotopes of the sun and the earth,